Fortunately, due to the magic of television, I have a ball of dough all ready to go that I made more than an hour ago. And this one's ready. And it's been rested. Alright. In order to make it easier to work with, we're going to cut it a few times. Because this ball of dough, if we put this into the machine just like that, it would just become very, very long, very difficult to work with. So we're going to cut it in half. Then we're going to cut it in half one more time. And one more time. And that is a more manageable piece of dough. The others I'll leave together, still covered with the plastic so that they don't dry out. Take this smaller piece of dough, work it into a nice little ball, and just flatten it gently with your hands. You can dust it with a little bit of flour. So you don't want it to get too wet because it'll stick inside the machine. You can even dust the machine with a little flour as well. This machine has 3 slots, one for rolling dough into thin piece, and 2 for cutting. One is for like a linguine cut, and the other is for spaghetti cut. It's fastened to the table very well, so it's very sturdy. And it comes with this little handle. Right now, we're going to put the handle into the rolling slot, and that will turn it and make the pasta easy to flatten out. If you got a little closer to this, you can see that there are numbers on this dial here that go from 1 to 6. 1 being the widest opening and 6 being the smallest. We're going to start at the widest opening and work our way smaller and smaller. So just flatten it out a little bit with your hands, put it on number 1, and begin to roll it and drop it down. And it's flattened out a bit. Let's do it one more time on number 1. Doing it twice will really incorporate that flour and give it a nice smooth look. Let's go to number 2. It'll be a little bit thinner. And one more time on number 2. Number 3. I can feel that the moisture is becoming a little stronger now that it's getting flatter and flatter, so I'm going to dust it a little bit more with flour on both sides so that it doesn't stick to the machine. Let's go to number 4. There we go, getting a little longer. Come on. The machine doesn't want to take it. Let's turn it around. And you can see it's getting longer and longer. It's getting a little more difficult to handle. So if you've never done this before and you feel like you can't pull it out and feed it at the same time, this is a good time to get a partner involved. Number 5. This machine goes up to number 6, so we're almost done. Different machines have different numbering systems, but it's obvious that when you change the numbers, it will get wider or smaller. You can tell on your machine which is which. It's getting really long now. I think we can go to number 6. You don't have to go to number 6, but today I just want you to see how thin it can get. You can go as thin or thick as you like. It's getting quite long. At this point, I think I'm going to cut it in half. It's a little too much for me to handle. That's good. And one more time on number 6. There's one piece. This is a good time to dust the pieces again with a little flour. It's very thin now, very delicate. If it somehow got folded over onto itself, it might stick to itself. You don't want it to do that because it will make it difficult for you to cut it into the shape that you want if it sticks. And dust it with some flour. Alright, now just to show you, we could do an entire class just on cutting different shapes, especially ravioli. Ravioli is a more difficult shape to perfect, but just for our purposes I can show you this. You can cut it completely by hand. Just fold it over again, and again, and again, and you can cut it into whatever thickness you like. If you want something thinner, thicker, doesn't matter. And then make sure that this is when the flour on both sides really helps keep them apart, but you really want to get in there and make sure that they unfold again, because if they don't and you just leave them in a pile, they might stick together and they won't cook properly. At this point, you can hang it, for example, between on top of a broomstick that's sitting between 2 chairs. That's a nice home solution. Or if you actually have a pasta drying rack, you can hang it there, and you can allow it to dry. Or you can take the whole thing and twist it into a little nest and let it dry like that. Or you can just cook it straight away. You don't need to let it dry at all. This one we're going to try cutting in the machine just to see what that looks like. And let's use the spaghetti. I don't think I've ever used that one before. Alright. So we move the handle into the spaghetti cutter on this side, and we're just going to drop it down the same way. Wow, look how thin that is. That's so cool. I lost some. There you have nice, very thin cuts. You wouldn't be able to do this thin of a cut yourself with a knife, so this kind of machine really helps you accomplish this fine work right here very easily, very quickly. Fresh pasta does not take very long to cook, so don't think that you have to boil this for a full 10 minutes like you would dried pasta. It will turn into mush. This will take about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe even less. This one is very thin. Maybe just a minute in boiling water and it will be ready. This one might take a little bit longer. If you let them dry, probably more like 4 to 6 minutes. And serve them with your favorite sauce. What questions do you have?
How many times have you made pasta yourself?
I've only made pasta maybe 10 times in my life. So not that many. You can get good at it fairly quickly. I did have help with it the first few times I made it. Now I can do it by myself. Any other questions? No? None at all? Alright. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and enjoyed your wine, and have fun making pasta at home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.